Hi guys. So we are going to go ahead and look at the quiz review for law of sines and cosines. So law of sines and cosines, again, it hasn't been too terrible, but it does get a little tricky when they're all combined together and trying to figure out which formula to use when. So let's just look at a few cases. Okay, so side angle side, that is a case when you will use the law of cosines. What that looks like in your picture is if you know like this side, and this angle, for example. Okay, that's side angle side. Angle side angle. Anytime you know more than one angle, that is the law of sines. Side side angle is the ambiguous case. Now we will use the law of sines, but again, remember we need to be careful because there could be two solutions or no solutions. All right, more than one angle, angle side, that is law of sines. Side side side, that is cosines. All right, so again, we need to make sure we know the difference between angle side angle and side side angle. Okay, so if you know one angle and two sides, if the angle touches both sides, that's side angle side, and that's law of cosines. If it doesn't touch it, then it's the ambiguous case. So let's start with an example. We're just going to solve these triangles and find our missing pieces. So this is triangle ABC. So here's A, B, C. Angle C is 115. Side A is 11. Side B is 21. So this is side angle side. Side angle side means use the law of cosines. So I'm going to start by finding side C. So you will be given one form of the equation for law of cosines. So in this case, remember, the angle is across from the side that's by itself in the formula. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. So C squared equals 11 squared plus 21 squared minus 2 times 11 times 21 times the cosine of 115. And if you remember, these are the easy questions because I can just plug them straight into my calculator just like this. Make sure your mode is in degrees, okay, because we are using the cosine of 115 degrees. And the answer that you get, I get that C squared is 757.2496, whatever it is. Make sure you square root your answer, okay? We are going to square root that answer. 757 would be way too large of an angle to make sense for this triangle. So I am going to square root the answer that I just got. And I get that side C is 27.5 for a side length. Well, now when we solve a triangle, remember, we find all the missing sides and angles. That means I also need to find angle A and angle B. It doesn't matter which one you find first. I'll go ahead and do angle A first. Now remember, if you're solving for angle A, side A is the side that's by itself. And now that we know our missing side, we are able to set up this equation. So whenever you have side angle side, it is important that you solve for the missing side first, okay, because we need it in order to be able to use it the other way. All right, so again, I used 11 by itself, so the angle across from 11 is the angle in my equation. And remember, the big mistake here, do not combine those numbers together, okay? The numbers that are attached to cosine are attached to cosine. So we'll go ahead and simplify what we can. 11 squared is 121. 21 squared plus 27.5 squared is 1197.25. 2 times 21 times 27.5 is 1155. And our goal here is to get cosine by itself. So I can't do anything with the 1155 yet. I'm going to start by subtracting, doing 121 minus the 1197 first. Then I can divide by what's with cosine. So we'll divide both sides by the negative 1155. I need to get my calculator, negative 1155. Okay, so I get that cosine A is equal to 0.9318. And remember, we're looking for an angle. When we use angle, we use inverse on our calculator. So second cosine or shift cosine on the Casio. And I get that angle A is 21 degrees. Well, once I know angle A, then I can solve for angle B pretty easily because those add up to 180. So 180 minus 115 and minus 21 is going to give me angle C, which is 44 degrees. We can also check to make sure our answer is reasonable. The biggest side should be across from the biggest angle, which it is. Biggest side's 27, biggest angle is 115. Smallest side was 11, and smallest angle was 21. So our answer is also reasonable. All right, let's look at the next one. So I've got triangle XYZ. So let's fill in. Here's X, Y, Z. Angle X is 72. Angle Y is 31. Side X is 103. If I know two angles, it's law sines. So law of sines. So sine 72 over 103 equals sine 31 over Y. Doesn't matter what you find first. We'll cross multiply. Remember, do not multiply the 31 that's part of the sine by the 103. Okay, the argument has to be left alone. So we'll just divide. So 103 times sine 31, and then divide by sine 72. And I get that side Y is 55.8. All right, now let's solve for angle Z and side Z. Angle Z, very easy, just subtract from 180. 180 minus 72 minus 31 gives us 77. And then set up law sines. So sine 77 over side Z. Cross multiply and divide. So Z times sine 72 equals 103 times the sine of 77. So 103 sine 77 divided by sine 72 tells me that side Z is 105.5. Again, you can check your answer to make sure it's reasonable. Okay, Z is the biggest angle, side Z is the biggest side, and it's pretty close because those angles are pretty close. Y is the smallest angle, and Y is the smallest side. All right, let's draw our triangle again. We've got A, B, C here. So here's A, B, C. Angle A is 37, side A is 49, side B is 54. This is the ambiguous case. This is side angle. So ambiguous case, we need to use law sines. So sine 37 over 49 equals sine B over 54. So with the ambiguous case, we have to kind of solve for that angle first. All right. So again, we'll cross multiply and divide. So I get that sine B is equal to 54 times sine 37 divided by 49. So sine B is 0.6632. So then I'm going to do sine inverse of that answer. Remember, inverse to find the angle. All right, so it's 41.5. I'll just round it up because I like to round angles to the nearest whole number. So I get that this angle is 42. But again, we have to be careful. With the ambiguous case, there is a second possible triangle. So I have to do 180 minus 42 to find that second angle, which is 138 degrees. Okay, well, now let's make sure that answer actually is possible. Okay, let me draw my second triangle. I'm going to relabel all of the original given information. So 37, 54, 49, and 138. So I need to make sure it's possible to have a 138 degree angle with 137 or with a 37 degree angle, and it is. It's going to be a very small leftover angle, but it definitely is possible. That missing angle for angle C would be 5 degrees. So angle C is 5 degrees if angle B is 138. All right, let's go back. Let's go ahead and finish that purple triangle. So now we'll do law of sines again. And I'll cross multiply and divide. So 49 times sine 5 divided by sine 37. Side C is 7.096. I'll just round that to 7.1. So this is the first possibility. everything in purple. The second possibility, everything in blue. So angle B is 42 degrees. If angle B is 42, then angle C is going to be 180 minus 37 minus 42, which is 101. And then we can do law of sines again in order to figure out what that missing side is. So again, I'm going to cross multiply and divide. So sine 101 times 49 divided by sine 37. Side C is 79.9. So everything in blue is possibility number 1. Everything in purple is possibility number 2. So again, be careful when you use sine inverse. When you use sine inverse, check for a second answer by subtracting from 180. That's probably the most missed thing I see in this whole little unit. All right. Next one, we know no angles. We know 3 sides. So usually this is pretty good for people remembering that this is going to be law of cosines. But this one is the hardest algebra, so be careful in the algebra. Side P is 21. Side Q is 42. Side R is 31. Pick an angle to solve for first. It's up to you. I'll do P. If I'm solving for angle P, side P is by itself. All right, and remember we talked about this on the first question. We cannot combine those numbers together. Don't combine them together. So on my calculator, I'll just do 21 squared by itself, which is 441. I'll do 31 squared plus 42 squared. That's okay. So that's 2725. And then 2 times 31 times 42, I can go ahead and multiply those numbers together. Just remember, they are still attached to cosine P. Okay, they are attached to cosine P. Now we can subtract 2725 from both sides. So 441 minus 2725 gives me a negative 2284. Divide by what's in front of cosine. And I'm going to do cosine inverse of that. Well, let me go ahead and actually write that number out for you guys so you can see it. So 0.877. And again, yes, we're going to do cosine inverse. Okay, cosine inverse to find the angle. So shift cosine of that answer, and I get 28.7, which I'll round up to 29 degrees. Okay, so that's angle P. All right, then again, it's up to you if you want to do Q or R. I'll go ahead and do angle Q. So if I'm solving for angle Q, side Q is by itself. So I'll do the other two. Again, it doesn't matter what order these other 2 sides go in, as long as you use them both. I'm run out of space here. And then since I did 42 by itself, Q is the angle we're looking for. All right, 42 squared is 1764. 31 squared plus 21 squared is 1402. 2 times 31 times 21 is 1302. Oops. We'll subtract 1402 from both sides. So 362 is equal to a negative. That negative is still there. Be careful not to lose it. That happens sometimes. Divide by negative 1302 on both sides. So I get that cosine Q is equal to a negative, and that's okay. That happens for obtuse angles. All right. So negative 0.278. That's all right that it's negative. Don't let that alarm you. We'll do cosine inverse of that answer. And when I do cosine inverse of that answer, angle Q, well, let me go ahead and write that step so you can see it. So cosine inverse of the, again, keep the negative on there. That's okay that there's a negative. That's how you get obtuse angles for an answer here. So angle Q is 106. All right, so if angle P is 29, angle Q is 106. At this point, I can just subtract from 180 in order to find my missing angle for angle R, which is 45 degrees. All right. Another one to set up here. We've got A, B, C. So here's A, B, C. Angle A is 32. Angle C is 61. Side B is 10. We know two angles. We're going to use law of sines. Let's go ahead and find angle B first. So 180 minus 32 minus 61 is 87. So there's my first piece of information. And then we'll use law of sines. Sine 87 over 10 equals sine 32 over side A. So 10 sine 32 equals A times sine 87. Divide by sine 87. Plug that into your calculator. Make sure you're in degrees. I don't think you would have changed that at this point. And I get that side A is 5.3. Set up law of sines one more time to find that other missing side. We're looking for side C. So again, side 87 over 10 equals sine 61 over C. Cross multiply and divide. I'm not going to show that step here because we've done that a lot now. And I get that side C is 8.758. I'll just round that to 8.8. All right, this should be our last, whoops, too far. That should be our last one, just solving the triangles. All right, let's draw our triangle out. Triangle A, B, C. Angle B is 40. Side B is 75. Angle side C, is 85. This is the ambiguous case, okay? This is the ambiguous case. This is side-side angle. So be careful and use law of sines. So sine 40 over 75 equals sine C over 85. That's the only way we can set this up right now. Cross multiply and divide. So sine C is equal to 85 times the sine of 40 divided by 75. And again, to find the angle, we're going to use inverse. So sine inverse of that previous answer. Angle C is 47 degrees. Or your second possible answer, 180 minus 47. So 180 minus 47 for my second possible answer is 133. So let's draw, since we have two possible answers, let's draw our second triangle. Okay, fill in all of the same original given information. And then the new information, angle C is 133. Let's make sure that triangle is actually possible. Okay, if I do 180 minus 40 minus 133, that is possible. It's a very small angle A, but there is an angle A there. That angle A is 7. So set up law of sines to find your last missing side on this triangle. Cross multiply and divide. So 75 times the sine of that tiny 7-degree angle divided by the sine of 40. Side A in this second triangle is 14.2. So everything in blue is your second triangle. Okay, let's go back to our purple triangle. Back to our purple triangle and find angle A. So 180 minus 40 minus 47. So 93 is one possible answer. Law of sines. Cross multiply and divide. Whoops, I'm so sorry, guys. What am I doing? That was not right. Sine of 93. Long day. Sine of 93 over A. Let me draw my 93 on there. That'll help me. There we go. Equals sine 40 over 75. Now we'll cross multiply and divide. So 75 times the sine of 93 divided by the sine of 40. And I get 116.5. So everything in purple are the answers for the first triangle. So again, two possible triangles here. This is a little bit of a longer video, I think, just because of all the algebra and all the calculator usage here. Okay. Area. So remember your area formula? 1/2 AB sine C. Now again, those letters can change. Just know that it's a side angle side to where you have these two sides, and that's the angle in between. So let's draw this one out. Here's X, Y, Z. So this is side angle side. So this is great. Don't need to do any extra work. Just need to plug it in to my formula. So I got 67.97 for my area. All right, let's go ahead and do number 9. Triangle A, B, C. Angle A is 38. Side C is 100. Side B is 6. So I don't have side angle side here. So I need one more side. So let's go ahead then and solve for my missing side. Okay, I'll do law of sines because I know two angles. So sine 100 over C is going to equal sine of angle B. Let's figure out what that is. 180 minus 100 minus 38 is 42. Cross multiply and divide. So 6 times the sine of 100 divided by the sine of 42 gives me that side. So that side right there is 8.8. Now I can use this formula. So I'm going to do the side angle side. So I'm going to use this information here. So 1/2 times 6 times 8.8 times the sine of 38. Which gives me 16.25. All right, almost done. We got 2 word problems to look at. So on the word problems, the math is not going to be any different. It's really just the setting up. All right, so 2 straight roads meet at an angle of 40 degrees in Harville. So 2 straight roads meet at an angle of 40 degrees in Harville. One road leads to Eastview, the other to Wellston. Eastview is 18 miles from Harville. Wellston is 20 miles from Harville. You have a delivery route that you follow. You start driving from Harville to Eastville, and then you drive from Eastview to Wellston. How far was your total drive? So what we're really looking for here, it looks like, is how much is that distance right there? All right, well, let's figure out what we need to use. This is side angle side, so I need to use the law of cosines to find that missing side. The side that's by itself in the equation is across from the angle that we're using. Perfect, that's the angle we have. So 18 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 18 times 20 cosine 40. So plug this into your calculator. 18 squared plus 20 squared minus 2 times 18 times 20 cosine 40. And remember to square root it. 172 is much too large of a number. So x squared was 172. So x is going to be 13.1. Now again, let's make sure we answer the question that it asked. It didn't ask for the distance from Eastview to Wellston. It asked for the total distance of your drive. Well, I drove 18, then I drove 13.1. So 18 plus 13.1 gives me my total distance of 31.1 miles. All right, our last little word problem here. A triangular field is 452 feet on one side and 572 on the other. All right, so we've got 452, 572. The sides meet in an angle of 67.1. So those two sides come into 67.1 degree angle. What is the perimeter? So again, this is another case of side angle side, which is law of cosines. So the side that's by itself, we're going to use the 67.1 as the angle. These are my other two sides. That's 2 there. This is a pretty easy one, again, because your number that you need is already by itself. I'm going to create out a space there. That is cosine 67.1. Plug all that in, so 452 squared plus 572 squared minus 2 times 452 times 572, it's a lot of typing, times cosine of 67.1. That's what x squared is. And then we square root it. So that missing side is 574.7. Now again, remember, we want to answer the question and ask for it. Ask for the perimeter. So add up all those sides together to get your final answer of 1,598.7 feet. All right, so biggest things to be careful about. Make sure you know when to use which formula. Make sure when you are solving for an angle with side, 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 or side, angle, side for law of cosines, be careful with your algebra. Don't combine the numbers that are attached with the cosine to the numbers that are not attached to the cosine. And the last thing to be careful about is the ambiguous case. Okay, if you have side, side, angle, you need to be careful. If you set up law of sines and use sine inverse, check for that second triangle. Okay, when you use sine inverse, do 180 minus the answer to check for your second possible answer.